Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Grace and Grits. I'm here with two of my really good friends. I truly admire these two gentlemen. Grady, my co-host, my friend. Gosh, I can't say great things, more than great things about this guy, and I appreciate him so much. And then we have my amazing Chad, the true Giga Chad. I'm so happy to have you guys on here. I'm so happy to be able to spend some time with you guys. And my favorite thing, talk about business and talk about our faith. And so I appreciate you so much for this time. Grady, my brother.
Miguel, super grateful to be doing this with you. We got another amazing guest, as you'd already talked about, Chad. And those of you who have not had an opportunity to get to meet the great Chad, probably the greatest Chad I've ever met, I have a feeling that you're going to walk out of here having a much better understanding of not only who he is, what he's doing, where he's going, but where that foundation comes from and how it's gotten him here today. So, I could sit here and I could talk about both of these two guys here next to me for probably way too long. We can blow smoke up every which way, but the honest truth is they're great people with great hearts. And so, with that, Chad, you want to give us just a brief introduction of yourself and what you're doing right now?
Yeah. So I'm Chad Choquette. I grew up in New England, in New Hampshire, in the middle of nowhere. Now live in South Carolina in the upstate, in not the middle of nowhere. To me, a very big city. To my wife, who's from Dallas, a very small town. And our passion project right now is small town revitalization, and going about that by buying a lot of properties in the main street corridor, setting up big visions, and trying to do really big things to redevelop community, restore social connectivity and trust in society by getting people up, allowing them to walk, to meet each other, have spaces to interact. That's our Everest. That's what we're working on.
That's incredible. Dude, that truly is. I mean, you said a word there that really hit is the trust. I was listening to a couple of videos earlier today, and it was this whole society at the moment is very untrustworthy, it feels like. And you're creating this space in this town. For you as a big town, for your wife maybe a small town, but regardless, it's a town, right? We have people there that are, they're people, they're human beings, and we got to care for our fellow human beings. And so that word really hit when you said trust. And so I want you to really kind of guide us through what you mean by trust. Get us a little bit more into that.
So I think let's pair it with the word of fear. That is a very prevalent thing in society right now. And there's obviously a kind of healthy fear, the kind of fear that you say you keep your kids away from busy roads. And then there's the bad fear where it's like you can't trust anybody. That's what we're kind of against, is where we're so overcautious with society nowadays that we're doing things that harm our children and our friends and our families, where it's like, well, we have such a precedent for how we operate, how we internally do things in our house, in our compound, and we have to keep everybody away. We don't know what's out there. We're afraid of the dirt and the grass and whatever's in every little bit of food and every road. And the funny thing about that whole, saying is, you'll hear a lot of older people talk about this. I even saw it on Reddit where it's like, is it really like what the movies from the 70s and 80s portray? Kids driving around their bikes on streetways and then they come home late at night. And it's like, well, yeah, there was a reason why, and not everything about that was good either. But there was a reason why at 10 p.m., all the news channels and all the channels said, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? So that was the reality then. And it's not the reality now. And there's a good things that have come from that. It's like we actually know where our children are. We try to take care of them and we don't just throw them out to the wind. But what's different about society then and what's different about society now? Because you talk to those people who grow up from that era and they're like, oh, people are so, they're so woke, or they're pansies, or they just throw labels on stuff. And yet they're also the same people who, live somewhere in our area. I'm not gonna say exactly where. And they see our kids even be 20 feet from the road and like, oh no, your kids, they're near a road. Or whatever. And they're the ones panicking, like where they were also lamenting the fact that society or the world is, wasn't like that. But you look historically back at stuff and it wasn't any different. Like there were still wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes and fires. I mean, there's reasons why you look at some of the Queen videos or other rock stars and they have like burning cars and streets and stuff. There is all the same stuff. I don't think, man has become any more sinful than they were before. But we just have this sense of, from the convenience and from what society is telling us, is we can't trust other people. We have to trust, Big Brother. You can get the conspiracy theories and whatnot. And we're told what's good. It's really not that great for us to not have social connectivity, which we direly needed during COVID. And it was probably one of the few things, no matter what you believe about it, you need human interaction, even in the dire circumstances. And we know it's good, but we're also told, be careful, everybody out there. And it's like, it's not that. Like most people you're going to meet on the street don't have ill intentions to you. Surprisingly, like, most people you meet are not going to come and take your kids. Like, does that happen? Yes. But so do a lot of other things that you don't really think about on a day-to-day basis, like driving in a car. Everybody's afraid of airplane crashes, but if you drive in a car, you have a 99.9% chance of getting in an accident in your life. And that we're just okay with that. So there's some levels of safety that we're willing to disregard. And, you don't want to get in a car accident, don't ever ride in a car, but you want it because of the convenience. And so we've kind of had this whole mix of fear and trust playing together, and how we restore that or play off of how do we fix those bonds is the rhetoric that we use, the spaces that we build, and getting up people up and walking, the whole agenda with cars and things like that. You can go deep dive into not just bikes and small towns and all these YouTube channels where they hate cars vehemently, and for good reason. I get it. Like, society has well adapted to, hey, our entire infrastructure is keep all the sick people here, keep all the religious people over here, keep the supermarkets here, and then put everybody in their suburban neighborhoods, but don't let them interact. Don't build sidewalks, and make sure they all have a car and they all build fences so they don't talk to each other. It's like, this is not a healthy way to go. We know this. And so we're trying to fix that by getting all these people up and moving, put in sidewalks, put in walkways, build community places, public places, and other, things where people can get together and not just run around with, security officers saying, don't wear hoodies, everybody move along, no loitering here, don't hang out. And, all the stuff that you've seen and you've been familiar with lately. It's not good for society. We know this. So we're taking a different pitch on it, is when we talk to the neighbors, we talk to the people. And yes, I do talk to my neighbors, and everybody should be doing it. We get to know them. We get to know these people 100 feet out our door. And it's surprising how few people know those. But you got to talk to them, and you got to talk to them in the way that is friendly and understanding that they have a whole different base ideology of how the world works. And we kind of need to align some things, because when we're going about our small town redevelopment, there's always, but those people over there, this part of thing is affecting us. That's where the crime comes from. And I say, no, that's just a hurting part of our neighborhood, of our community. And we need to love on those people, because they didn't grow up with, the parents that you had, or this thing or that thing. And they need to experience that, the lack of father figures. Like, I don't just delve into like a billion topics that are all related. And so it's hard to not just like, ooh, my mind.
No, this is awesome, because now we have a lot more. We can take this from a 20-minute podcast to about 8 hours, thanks to that.
Perfect. No. Opus puts it away.
No, I love a lot of the things, well, all the things that you touched on, because it is stuff that's going on right now. It is stuff that has been getting predominantly worse and worse within communication of neighbors. And, I don't know how many friends and people that I've talked to that, I show up at their house and it's, hey, do you know the person next to you? No. It's like, dude, you've lived here for 3 years. You don't even know their name. It's like, no. Like, to me, that's just weird. Mm-hmm. But that's also how I was raised, and part of who I am is I kind of am an outgoing person, to the point of frustrating my wife at times, because I love talking to people. I love hearing their stories. So with everything that you kind of dove into, right, there was a lot there to unpack. So you're working on revitalizing small towns, and a lot of things happened through COVID, but what has drawn you to do that? What has gotten you to the point where it's like, you know what? This is what I'm doing. This is what we're doing.
essentially opportunity and desire. And that's really, I talked about this at Dealmaker when I presented, where I was like, the first thing you have to do, you can accomplish. You can be on any stage in the world. If you know what you want, you tell people what it is, and you take daily action to accomplish it. And that knowing what you want is very hard. Like, you go read Think and Grow Rich. Most people would struggle their whole life and never figure it out, what their desires, what they're trying to accomplish. And even, being an owners club, it helps a lot. Being where I'm at now, like every week, it's just a refining what that Everest is, what you're trying to accomplish. And so I'd say desire. And it started out from, I went out after church with my kids. I have 4 kids and they're all great. And my friends have 8 kids and they're all great. And my other friends have 3 kids and they're all great as well. And we want to go talk and we want to have time together. So we go out to eat. And sure, we could go back and make food and hang out at our house. Yes, we could do that. But we should also go out to eat at a restaurant. That's what we decided to do. Where are we going to go? In our area, there aren't really any options. Like Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays. Most of them have removed their play places anyways. And then there is like Swamp Rabbit Cafe, which has some kid places sort of on a walking trail 30 minutes away. That's about the closest option. There's another place that's 30 minutes away. But we were hungry, so we picked Chipotle. And Chipotle is great. I love Chipotle. But there's nothing for the kids to do, especially after 2 hours, no matter how great your kids are. Yeah. 2 hours is a very long time for a child to sit in a booth and flick forks and knives at each other or whatever it is they're going to do. And I think they did great. We tried our best to have our conversations and manage our children, and then we clean up after them, and then we say, man, it would be great if X, Y, and Z, something existed. Yeah. And that's where it came from, was I really want a place that has really good food and something to do, places to sit. And I would literally spend all day there, like, with my family, and we just hang out with our friends and we just do that. And at the same time, we had the opportunity to buy 3 buildings on Main Street. One was a connection through a connection where he's like, oh, I got this guy who wants to sell office building on Main Street, Taylor's in my small town. And then another guy, an agent that I worked with previously, was like, my broker wants to sell or finance 2 properties. Do you want them? And I said, sure, we'll get all 3 of these. And none of which have actually made us money to this day. So that's a whole nother side, like I mentioned. But we had the opportunity and desire. So basically the desire to make community spaces, and then the opportunity to start buying things. And then we expanded out from there to where the idea of a community space where we could be together and eat good food, I started expanding beyond just, let's work on Main Street and build some community spaces, to what about this icon in the community? Let's look at the textile mail. What if we did like a Taylor's adjunct fund that ran alongside and developed and worked on properties that are outside of the purview of the Main Street corridor? And you start looking and clicking on Crexy and Zillow and all the stuff, and you see, this one's been for sale for a while. What could we do there? It's like, I had these connections to a mini golf course developer and then some other people, and I love pizza. And then we just kind of like piece all the things and desires together. And it all came to like, let's build a 36-hole miniature golf course and pizza restaurant, which is what I pitched at Dealmaker. And we haven't made like significant progress, I would say, but finally having Ann McNamara on our team, she came up here and she's like, you're going about it the wrong way. And so now we're working on that. And that's really helping align, what we're trying to accomplish. So I think the initial point of the question is opportunity, desire, like really got us here. And it's been refining and changing every moment. The moment Miguel looked at each other at SWAT Up Summit and said, did you tell your wife? No. Did you tell your wife? No. And from that moment, now we're here, Owners Club exploding and doing all kinds of new things that give you ways to refine and refocus what that desire is and the opportunities that come along with it, how to get there. That's kind of what we got to where we are today. Now we own like 6 properties on the Main Street corridor. We have a real estate coaching and partnership we just launched. I'm teaching a class there tonight. We have our sub 2 meetups there where the parking lot's packed every last Tuesday of the month. We're renovating and rezoning another building next to it for larger meeting space. We have just a bunch of things going on, and the sub 2 community has been a good part of it as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's truly incredible. It's simply put, it's kind of, I don't want to, okay, please don't take it this way. It's selfish, but in all the best reasons. It truly is, because I promise you, and I'm sure you know this already, because I'm sure you've gotten those input from the community, and it's like, yes, create something. And it kind of goes back to like that Spider-Man meme. It's like, and then pointing, it's like, who's going to do it? And then here comes Giga Chad. here comes the one and only Chad, and he's like, I'm gonna do it. Of course, I'm gonna do it because I'm super visionary, and so it's incredible that you're taking these steps and then seeing that you have owners club and you could put these two together and now you have the better steps, right?
Yep.
Knowing that you're doing it, I guess, the wrong way sucks, but at the same time, you're like, okay, well, if that's the wrong way, what's the right way? And then you have someone as great as her guiding you to do it a better way. And not only that, you have Pace promoting and talking about how great you did, and it brings me joy, as you can tell. It brings me
Oh,
joy that I get to see you on there and Pace is talking to you about it. I was talking about it, and it's incredible, man. It's a great step that you're taking. It's a great accomplishment that you're doing. And man, you hit a point that I've been hearing lately. It's like, well, I'm not making much money off of it, but it's eventually we'll get to that point. I was listening to somebody in the pod for our pod yesterday, and they were talking about multifamily. And same thing. It's like, well, I haven't made much money from it, but you have your money making. So he's a contractor and he's just finishing up a luxury flip. But it's the reality. It truly is a reality. I was talking to Matt Burnett, that's somewhat near you in Alabama, and he was the same way. He's like, dude, like how are people doing this? And I'm like, I'm gonna be very transparent with you here. A lot of this fluff that you're seeing on Instagram and all this stuff, it's all fluff, man. Like
yep.
it's not a perfect world. We're not Pace. We plan and strive to be that way, but at the moment we're just getting started. A lot of us are just getting started, and so it's the reality. And when people are open about it, I feel like it's more attainable that way, or more understandable that way. So I appreciate that you are able to kind of just freely say it with all transparency.
And it's honestly something to tackle. Like, you don't want to just disregard that. That's why you have the active income series in Owners Club, and you have to have something, because at some point, I will run out of money. Like, I cannot foot the bill on all this eventually. Yeah. And so that's something our small town team sat down last night. We had 3 hours. We were talking about it. And this morning we're like, we have to make money. Like, we can't just have vision. The visionary dilemma is you have such high aspirations that will not make money today. That's just not, fundable, and do that for a long time. You can't just do that and not make money indefinitely, especially when you have families to feed. And so we're sitting down and thinking like, oh, we had all of the things on the list. We're like, oh, we could do this. Like, we could do this. We could buy that. We could make this happen. Let's put the big things over here. And it's like, okay, well, let's sit back and say, what do we actually need? Number one, we need money. It'd be great to be paid at closing. Number two. And then we just need to set up like our target, our scalability model of how we do this. And we looked at our different asset classes and we said, what are we already qualified in? And they were all like things. We put all the list of like, oh, it'd be fun to own an RV park or a wedding venue or all this stuff, even mixed use facilities, mini storage. It's like, yeah, but none of us are trained in that or qualified to do that, like from a funding standpoint. So we have all these technical hurdles and financing challenges. So let's sit down and go back to, of all things that everybody's talking about, is co-living. And so we're like, well, number one, it's a tangent of pretty much all of our businesses that we all know how to operate in that space. We can qualify for financing. We know how to do it. We have tons of people working on it. It's a huge problem. It's all to solve affordability. It's like, and it cash flows. It actually makes money. And so why don't we focus on that? And we're not detouring from like where we are at with our small town statement, because we have a much bigger vision of building out a brand and a kit, basically a pathway where we come into towns and we start the projects and people partner with us. That's like the primary goal. But right now we've moved to the front of, we need to make money today. And between, with our powers combined, we're smart enough to do that. And we already know what we're already good at. So we're retargeting right now. And so we're going to take a brief interlude, back step from like pushing really hard on our crazy visionary stuff, because, we have to make money. And so we're going to help each other. We'll build it together. We'll make our money. And then we'll also have, we'll keep pushing together. We'll do as Ann says, the maths on all the things for how the numbers work on these big deals, Taylor Station and the mill and the mixed use, and we'll get it right so that when we get to a point where we can really make it happen, or the deal is so good we can easily bring in a partner, that's the time to do it. But right now, as great as it was to like run on stage and present Dealmaker and the whole aspiration, it brings a lot of attention and it brings resources, and presented like we're not doing it technically like the correct way to do it. So it's been a little hard because a lot of people, like I have people walk up to me in my community and they're like, I love what you're doing. I know I want to give you $500. Like a neighbor will do that. And like, I want this to exist. But most of the bigger investors say, this is amazing, you should build this, but I'm not going to give you money because I don't know who you are. So that's kind of the technical challenge that we need to work on, the math calculations. Not that they're wrong. We just have to present them in the right way, put together the right books, do the right presentation to the right partners, and we can do the big visionary stuff. But solving today's problem is figure out what you're really good at, what you're already, and it's probably going to be something that you don't really want to do because to you, as to a visionary, it's very boring. It's old hat and you've done it before and you want to move on to something else. And also you're going to say, well, I know all the problems with it. I don't want to do because X, Y, and Z. We have to put in sprinkler systems. There's boarding house rules. There's this and this. But the fact that you already know what the problems are tells me you already know what you're talking about in that, and you should be doing it if you want to make money. So just a little advice there from visionary to another visionary.
Well, it's a great intro topic. I mean, a topic to touch on because there is a lot of things, another fellow visionary, right? We see things so far down the line, but without the proper team in place and the proper foundation built to support that team and to support your growth, you're going to be jumping over. You're building a bridge, right? But instead of building out a plank every step so that you can walk across this bridge, you're putting a plank here 10 feet forward. So you got to jump to it and bring yourself back up so you don't fall down the ravine. And, you're doing this process where if you build that foundation and you create that structure that hey, me and my team are supported. We now have, depending on what's needed in that foundation. Maybe it's, hey, we now have sufficient funds to support us and our families. Maybe it's, hey, we have the people in place to support each other and we're not worried about funds. Everybody's in a different position, right? Everyone's at a different point in life, which is perfectly fine. But you get to bring those people together, put the foundation in place to help each other continue to grow and make this vision that you've come up with, this vision you have, to be passed down to the people.
Yep.
And it's amazing.
It's a lot of fun too.
So
as fun as it is to dream, it's more fun to have money in the bank sometimes,
Yeah, that's true. You can't make a lot of dreams happen without having the financial support.
Correct.
And so a lot of people, right? I grew up with a odd understanding of money. It was either, put your trust in God and he's going to provide, or, hey, money's wicked. You don't need a lot of money. Like, that's of the devil. Right? There's a handful of different things that I got to see shift throughout my life with my family that, hey, it's okay to have money, to it's not, to it's okay. And so it does bring in a lot of struggles and things that I had to work through personally for my faith and my belief and my understanding of myself in relationship with money. So as you've been doing this, as you've been stepping into this role of, this visionary leader that you're building, you're going to be building some great things. You've already started doing the processes. You've already got a building in place and the groundwork and foundation is being laid. How has your faith helped you keep going? How has your faith played a role for you in what you're doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say, like, definitely for me, the whole community aspect is not something that's like new, because prior to this, before Gator, I'm the kind of person I grew up, like, we always go to church when it's open and that's how we've always done it with my family. And we've always, those are our friends and our family, because all my immediate family doesn't live here. Like, we don't have any immediate family. Couple individuals that we're related to, we don't see them very often. And so I was building a lot of my community in my church, which plays a massive role, in my life. And that's the entire point of like, okay, we can have more community to do what we're supposed to be doing here, telling other people about Jesus and glorifying God. And we can do that with other people. There was a missions outreach program that I participated in, their program in Milwaukee a few years ago. And they said, how do we glorify God? It's the way that God envisioned the world was people in a right standing relationship with God covering the earth. That's the whole point of the replenishing the world, filling it up all over the place with people who are in a right relationship with him. And we can achieve that through having community with people, because we can know each other and lead other people to God. So that plays really well with it. And starting with the community within my church, at the beginning of last year, I owned 5 houses on my street, and I've been trying to move more of my church friends into my neighborhood. And so far, I've moved 2 young couples into my neighborhood. One of them, unfortunately, just is selling their house now. So I'm trying to move more of my church friends into my neighborhood. So that's played a pivotal part of my life. Is just like my church family is, my primary family. Like, I don't have my, immediate family nearby. And so that's played a lot into why we're doing what we're doing, even prior to the small town redevelopment, giving us that opportunity to invest in our community monetarily, but also spiritually, interacting with them. And then the difference between where I was at, a year ago and now, especially with faith, I think there's like a mixture of both faith and your mindset inside, which we talk about mindset all the time in Owners Club and, in Dan Martell's business coaching and all that stuff. It's amazing how easy it is if you're successful to like do things. You aren't like running around trying to do every little thing. I explain it this way. If you're like me or and Trevor and Robert, we're all lamenting it. It's like, why do we want to pick the hardest way to do things? Why do we want things to be hard? Because if it's not hard, then, we didn't obviously do hard work to make it accomplish. But then we're always running around doing hard things, and we're not, we're really spinning our wheels. So every moment it's like, oh, I could be in this moment sitting, meditating, 30 to 60 minutes is all you really need to sit in silence and really just write down one problem that you have and just sit there and think about it. And like, you're going to come up with a solution because your brain needs that time, like neuroscience. You just need to calm down, wait, pray, like sit in silence. And we don't give ourselves time to do that. Instead, how about this? I will open up Zillow again or Craigslist or something and just like go house hunting. Well, I reloaded this page 5 times 5 minutes ago. Maybe something new showed up. But I'm working really hard and I'm trying to like, but how do we actually make this thing that's a terrible deal and not a deal at all? But we're going to figure out how to get ourselves into it and make it really awful for us. And it's like we're prone to do that for some reason because we know it's like, oh, it's so good. It's so hard. And it means we're doing hard work and we're making it happen, because, the ground's not going to give up it's good vegetation very easily. We know that because the Bible says work's going to be hard. And it's like, yeah, but the Bible also put work in before the curse and work is good. So I think we're going about the wrong way because you look at people who do really well, even Pace and Dan, they talk about this. Like I work all the time, but like I don't work in the way that you do. Like I don't work as hard as you do. It's not running around and filling my time with busy work and all these things and trying to like distract myself with silly, shiny objects every moment. And so that has been like a big mindset shift because there's a huge level of trusting God and not believing that you're doing and pulling all the strings that made it happen. And not that I didn't have that before, but there's a larger level of that in my life where I'm like, I write down in my grateful journal, I'm just like, okay, what's 3 things that are going to make it, a great day? And those have changed from when I was at the beginning. It was always like, basically do more. And now it's more like be less busy, delegate, like focus, spend intentional time with my family, like plan. And those are not the same things as where I started. So come a little bit of a ways.
That's so you're hitting such good points, Chad. Like,
Oh, good.
Really good points where people need to realize that are in our circle or in the entrepreneur mind life. It truly is that, right? It's trusting, it's believing, it's spending right amount of time with our family. Because at the end of the day, they're usually our why. And if our why is being neglected, then what's the point? And so spending that time and, like I said, delegating how we should, it's so critical. But our mind is so used to the W-2, used to our seeing our parents work hard, work two jobs, not get home till late at night and talk about how much they hate their job, right? And it's like you think, oh, well, I have to go through that. But we've learned from such great mentors and great people around us that have done great things and are ahead of us, and we could look back and say, hey, what did you do, how did you do this differently? And it's kind of goes back, right, with Anne, how she's helping you with this whole project, is letting you know, hey, this is not the right way, this is a better way. And I think it's incredible, and I think it's something that I wish a lot more people would understand and not have to go through it and then realize it. Because gosh, how many of our friends have gone through that? Even though we told them, hey, don't do it this way, they still do it that way, and then they have to find out the hard way. And it's like, we tried to warn you, we tried to tell you that's not the way to go about it. Go like this. And I don't know. I don't know what it is
Who,
about
not how.
humans. Yeah.
No, it's because we think, like, we've grown up in a society, and you mentioned this, like the way that we're educated. It's always like, oh, how do I do this? Not who. It's always like, oh, well, how do I save $20 changing my own oil and spending 3 hours under my car today? And that's the first way we do it. It's like, well, nothing wrong with Dave Ramsey, but also there's something wrong with that. Like, it doesn't make any sense to do that, but we do it anyways. We want to. Well, how do I? Oh, that's kind of expensive. I could save myself $100 if I spend the next 8 hours researching this and then figuring out how to do it myself.
But see,
it's like, do you want to be a professional in that thing? Is that what you want to be a professional? Then go do it. Pick that as a job.
I think
like,
that
don't dilly dally.
What that, though, like, it depends on how you look at that concept. A lot of that ties into your relationship with a tangible object like money and how you view the asset class of money. Is because if you value the dollar more than you value your time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if $20 is worth it to you for that 3 hours. Now, there's the other thing you have to look at is some people, that 3 hours, that's like their meditation time. For some people, doing manual labor, doing things like changing oil, changing a tire, or that kind of stuff, that is their brain clearing time. That's when everything disappears and they can just, woosah, however you rub the
mow the
earlobes,
lawn,
right?
like, particular, you
But
can ride the tractor, mow the lawn, and then you can just clear your brain and focus.
Exactly. And so part of it is, looking at your perception of how this is going, right? Is this something that I'm utilizing because I want to save $20 here, even though it's going to cost me 3 hours and I really don't like doing it? Or can I drop $60 for someone to change the oil? I save that 3 hours and I can utilize that 3 hours to spend time with family. Because to me, it's well worth it to spend $60, $100 to have an extra 3 hours with my family. May not be worth it to others, but I know it's worth it to me, right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of figuring out those priorities in life and being able to step outside of that whole relationship that you have with money into, hey, this is not an asset. This is a tool. I can go out and I can make more money. I can go out and bring value and service to someone else that they're willing to pay me for something I love to do. Or it's, well, I don't like what I'm doing. I got to go into work. I'm going to work my 8 hours and just do what I have to do to get by. And this is how much I know I'm going to make. So I need to live within those means.
Yeah. It's an education thing, really. Like, it's not to get super political or anything, but like the way that we're generally raising people is it's weird because employers get fed up with this and like, why don't you just go figure it out on your own instead of me having to tell you literally everything to do? Like, go figure it out. But if you think about it, you just spent the first 22 years of your life, and the people around you, all they said is, don't think, just do what I'm telling you to do.
Yeah.
And then you expect those people to think for themselves, and it doesn't work. And we also don't set those people up for success in their life, because there's nothing wrong with knowing stuff about history or any particular detail, but you find out that the most successful people don't spend their time figuring out all kinds of random information in the world. Yet we know lots of information. Like I can, trivia about The Office, or, quotes from Friends, or whatever it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if we educate our people and the information is the way we run society, and we just tell you what to do, then you're going to get people who have a bunch of information and you just tell them what to do. And it doesn't work very well for entrepreneurs to, operate off that basis. It's a terrible employee, honestly. But that's where we've gotten most people, because we need those, basic factory worker kind of individuals to work at a lot of places, which we talked about with pace and AI and replacement. But I think there could be a change. And this goes into a little bit of a side tangent, a side quest of my own desire with society. And not that I'm going to fix everything or change anything with this, but with our own family. You might like this, Miguel. Someday for you, Grady, too. You know how the precedent of, if you become an expert in something, you spend 10,000 hours doing it. And so I thought, what's the most successful thing I can give my kids? How can they be successful? And obviously a right relationship with God first, but then how do we do their education? And the education thing piece, it always frustrates me. We all homeschool our kids, but it just seems like so much work, and all the little details and all this random stuff that they have to know. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. We all know that and whatnot. And, how many people died in the Battle of Manassas, and that's great. But then we get these kids and we get to 18 and they're about to go to college. And it's like, now we ask them the question, what are you going to do with your life? What do you want to study? They have no clue. Like They just spent all this time where you just told them, just do what I tell you to do. And what do you expect them to do? And then they spend the first 10, 15, 20, who knows how long, till they figure out, man, I really wanted to do this thing with my life. Now, how do I get there? And they spend the rest of their life trying to figure out if they can even do it, or just give up altogether.
Right.
And what I found when I was looking at some of the examples from society, the ones that people said, that's bad, you shouldn't do that with your kids, ended up being the most successful ones. In my opinion, I haven't found any outliers where it wasn't successful, is where they forced on their kids specific things that they were going to be good at. They basically forced their kids to become really good at things. And it was kind of irrelevant of the child's desire, which is super un-American to do. Figure out what do the kids want? And it's like, well, the kids have no clue what they want. So, Venus and Serena Williams.
You will like this. You will love this. Keep going.
Yeah, exactly. That, and, King Richard, you watch that, or there was this Polish family and they wanted their daughters to become chess champions. And so he put up pictures of all the professional chess players and put books and chessboards everywhere. And they grew up only thinking and loving chess. And not that I want my kids' desire to be all about one thing outside of God, but also human desire is going to be, you're going to be about all kinds of things or something. So you might as well pick, something that's going to set you up. And those girls in particular went off to be grandmasters and great stuff. But then the unique thing is, what does somebody who becomes an expert and is successful in something, what are they able to do? Oh, they're going to spend their entire life just playing tennis or playing chess? No, they find a passion, or they have a passion for something else, and they can go and take, I have an audience. People love me about this thing. I'm expert in this thing. I can teach this thing. I can make money doing it. And I can pivot to exactly what I want to try to accomplish in this world. And I think that would be a good new educational standard I would like to set up. So I had ChatGPT kind of write me up some scripts and things. We put together categories of things that we can give our kids to be experts in. And we're going to work through that. And how do we get to 10,000 hours? Starting at age 6, it's 1 hour a day. And then eventually it ramps up, because at some point you're spending some more time. It's not like they have a job, when they're 12. And then at some point you have enough time. By the time you get to 16, 17, 18, they have 10,000 hours. Now they're an expert in something that they can teach others, and they can make money doing it. And then now they're successful, and they know how to be successful in something. They know how to be an expert in something, and they can take that, make money, teach others, and then pivot into whatever, their real desire is. Even if it's that thing, they can stay in there, or they can, use those resources. I think that could be an entirely new model and way we educate and set up our children for the future.
No, 100%, 100% right. It's who knows our kids better than the parents and us, right? We
Yeah.
look at what they're really good at. We look at, like, my kid. I'm thinking about my son. This kid's incredible with puzzles, and is because he has such a high capacity of his memory. He's just naturally good at them. He does puzzles that 7, 8 year old kid would be doing. And so, like you said, figuring out how can we use that quote unquote superpower that he has into learning and applying it to something in this world, and then letting him know, hey, you're great at this, and this is what you can do, and this is, if you want to do this, move forward. I love the idea. I truly do. And it also, I'm sure, it brings this huge amount of confidence in them.
Absolutely. That's a big thing. Is the world is very happy to talk about, like, well, self-esteem and confidence. Is like, we'll give them some self-esteem and make them do something hard and be successful in it. And there's nothing that's going to replace that. When you've been successful, when you've accomplished something, that gives you such a high, such a level. It's like, I can now take this and do something else with it, success. And yet, we do the Renaissance man, and nothing against Renaissance man, but also, jack of all trades, master of none. It's like, we know the phrase, yet we do it to everybody for some reason. And then it's unfortunate where some of the people end up. It's like, I don't want my kids spending the first 10, 15, 20 years of life trying to figure out what they're doing and not knowing how to get there.
Yep. Absolutely.
No, that's awesome. I like it. I like it a lot. Because, I mean, there's a lot of different things that come into also just the structure as between the ages of 5 and 7, right? That's when a lot of our self-beliefs are solidified. And so when kids get into school, they're finding that there are situations that put in more negative self-beliefs that aren't necessarily true. But part of it is, hey, I struggle with reading, but I'm really good at math. Or maybe dyslexia kicks in, or maybe there's something like this. So then they're automatically learning to put themselves 1 or 2 levels below everyone else because, hey, I really don't like reading. I'm slow. I can't pronounce the words. And it adds in these negative self-beliefs that later down the line are going to have to be worked through. And so instead of working with people at their level in most school systems, right, it's, hey, oh, you got an F. Oh, you got a C. You need to work on this. You need to do this. And kids are comparing, how'd you get? What'd you get? How'd you do? And so a lot of people don't realize, and it's becoming a lot more prominent now, that between the ages of 5 and 7 are some of the key years of building up who your child believes that they are in the future.
Yep. Absolutely. I think James Clear talks about it in his book, and we're so against doing this for people, is treating people differently, especially with our kids. It's like the entire education system are all the things that I mentioned before, but also just to create an average. And sure, if you want like average results and you want the basic thing, like, go for it. But that doesn't work really well if they use even the biological advantages and disadvantages. We're talking about Michael Phelps and then some other guy who has really, I think Michael Phelps has shorter legs and like a longer wingspan, and then this other person had like longer legs and a shorter like upper area, which is perfect because Michael Phelps is great at swimming and the other person was great at running. And we're fine to address that like in a that standard. It's like, oh, physically they're really good at that. But you wouldn't, like, if we took those kids and put them in the education or them as kids into the education system in the way that we work with people mentally, and we would have said, well, you both have to be really good at running and you have to be both the average in like whatever it is, the category. And it doesn't make any sense to do that. Like, this person's very good at this. Give them more resources to be really good at that. And it's like, sure, yes, everybody should be able to like do some basic reading, writing, math, like, because we need to communicate. But does every kid need to know how to, like, oh man, there's some things that just the horror, the traumas of like high school. I'm thinking about it. Like, oh, one thing I was like, diagramming sentences is the most useless skill, like, to me personally, and I just can't stand it. And I never could figure out, like, why would I do this? I don't know if you know what diagramming sentences is, but like, you draw a little picture and you take a sentence and you put it into a line structure. And I'm like, why are we doing this? I'm like, well, this, grammar and English. And it's like, it doesn't help me do anything. And I only get to pass your test and create an average. For what reason?
When am I going to use this?
Exactly. It's like, I love the fact that I can quote the intro to the Canterbury Tales in Middle English. It's entirely.
It's like, when am I going to use that?
I get to have a fun party trick.
Yeah. That's funny.
No, I love it. I love it. Chad, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate this time. Grady, I love you, brother. I appreciate you so much. I am excited. I'm sure we'll have you again here in the coming months. Because again, we want to hear the story. We want to hear the rest. What happened with your renovation? What happened with the cash flow? Where are you at? Right? What is that? What can we do to help you out? And so I appreciate you so much. And if you don't mind, let's end with a prayer.
Absolutely.
Grady, go ahead, brother.
Father, we just thank you for today, for bringing Chad into the group with Miguel and I, and for just giving us the opportunity to talk and to have a conversation and to share different aspects of our life, our understandings, our perceptions of what has happened or is going on. And, we ask that you would just let this reach out to the people that need to hear it, that have questions that maybe we answer, and, be with Chad through his growth, through what he's doing in his business and his dreams and the desires and passions that you put on his heart. We just thank you for lighting that fire and igniting it and giving him the drive and putting the people in place that need to be in place for him to make it come to fruition. And we just thank you so much. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Appreciate you guys. Chad, where can we reach out to you? When the people see this, they want to know who you are, where you are, what you're doing, your Instagram. They want to see the story. So tell us, what's your IG handle? What's your YouTube handle? Let us know.
It's all very easy. It's just my name. Actually, you could just go to chadchoquette.com. My last name is the hard part. CHOQUETTE. But chadchoquette.com, you can find me there. Tons of resources and stuff that I provide, ways to work with me, connects to everything. That's the easiest way.
I love it. Appreciate it. Guys, thank you so much for
gentlemen.
watching another episode of Grace and Grits. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys soon.